Hey there, it's Natalie, and I am the creator and producer of this podcast called Trey Flavored, and also a video channel on YouTube. And this is my series on takeaways from yesterday. And I'm really enjoying doing this because it's actually like a good moment for me to reflect on the day before and hopefully kind of share that idea with you. And I don't know, it's just, I think it's a good thing to be able to reflect on your day, like good and bad. And yeah, so here it goes. Today I want to talk about a very interesting and juicy topic for my takeaway from yesterday. And that is what is known as ghosting. If you know, you know. If you don't, here it is. I feel a little bit redundant saying this because I feel like this is a pretty universal term right now, but I'm sure there's people out there that don't know what ghosting is. I didn't know what it was, I'm going to say about a year and a half ago. So ghosting has been introduced as a term because of the sort of effects of this like online dating, very casual conversation that you have with someone, getting to know them, or maybe you've even hung out with them, and then out of the blue they disappear and never talk to you again, and that is what is known as ghosting because they become a ghost. And the very first time it happened to me was like a huge shock, and literally, like, I don't have a better word for it, a mind fuck. Because it really just like threw me for a loop. I have a very hard time, or had at the time a very hard time with that concept of someone just like not talking, especially when you have started to develop this sort of relationship, regardless of what it is. It's usually, texting on a dating app or whatever. And it just doesn't seem humanly normal to do that. So the first time it happened to me, I will say that like I was affected. I was like, I don't know if I was pissed, like, I guess I was kind of pissed off, but more than anything, I was like confused as fuck. And so and actually how I learned about the term was not in that instant, but when I was retelling the story about how this guy just disappeared. We were chatting for a long time. We'd never met up. And like out of the blue, he was gone. And as I was telling my friend, who is about 10 years younger than me, so has more knowledge on the social media, social norms of today, tells me, oh, you were ghosted. I'm like, I was what? Who to what? And so it was then that I learned that I had actually been ghosted. And I guess what I want to talk about is not the fact that it exists or whatever, but actually how the second time around I was much more able to deal with it. Because the first time I think I took it a little more on me, kind of being like, how did this happen to me? And like, what did I do? And then, like, because of all life's steps and journeys and processes, I have now gotten to this point where now it's happened to me, and I was much more able to look at it as such. Ghosting is this. It is a product of the society we live in, which is like very transient, go back and forth, non-committal. And, like that sounds all super negative, this idea that we can just like interact with someone, have this sort of bond connection, and then disappear. Sounds very negative, but I think I've become a lot less about that and more like it is what it is. That's what we live in today. And I think if you get caught up in it's so wrong, that's where you sort of fall into that getting left behind group. So that's one thing I see it as. And the second thing is it's like 120% about the other person. Because like I think we all like to think that we're something very special and great and amazing. And so if something like that happens to us, it questions that idea of like, we're so awesome, I'm so awesome, how could somebody ghost me? Like, what does that say about me? When in reality, in combination with it being this sort of like thing of society, it's totally about the other person. Like, because what I've realized is when I'm in those situations, I am a person who is more inclined to be like, it's not comfortable, but I will really work and usually force myself, I usually force myself to communicate with another person that I'm just not interested. And yes, like it may be, we didn't get to know each other super well, but like I just don't feel it. Whereas if you are someone who is not able to communicate that, you are going to resort to ghosting. And I'm not trying to say that all the people that ghost are horrible people, because you know what? Like maybe it's just like, I'm not dating this chick. It's not worth it to explain it. I'm just going to disappear. Like, I really get that. So anyway, this was the situation last night. Yesterday, I had the plan with someone that I had been talking to on a dating app that we were going to meet up. And it was sort of this random series of events that was going to go down, that he was going to help me do this favor. And then I had this friends event, so I was going to go to that. And then we were going to meet up and go hang out for the rest of the evening, go dancing, whatever. And this was like, the plan was made on Friday evening. Saturday in the day, the morning goes by, around midday, I message him and be like, okay, so this is what I see going down. This is the plan, just to confirm everything's cool. Didn't hear from him. Few hours. Then I'm like, okay, maybe he's at work. Maybe I didn't know that. Are you at work? No answer. Then I'm kind of like, okay, what, like, it's so weird. It's a mind fuck. So I'm like trying to inquire, like, is everything okay? What's going on? Like maybe something came up. I don't know. Maybe he had like a family emergency. Of course, you start justifying or trying to find the solution to the reason for all these things. No answer. So it's not really, at that point I was like, okay, pretty sure this guy's gonna disappear and ghost me. Regardless, I realized like I had this plan, and you know what? At this point, it's the time where I have to like get going to my other friend's event. And I was like, I want to dress up because we were going to go out and I never dress up, and like, so I'm going to do it. So I got dressed up, looked super hot, if I do say so myself. Went to my friend's house and continued my evening. At this point, I'm pretty sure like nothing's going to happen, but I was like, I'm going to dress up anyway, whatever. And so the difficult part of that for me this time was not getting ghosted, but it was just like, okay, now I have to reorganize my whole evening or kind of reshift my mindset. And that really messes with me. Regardless, there I was, 10 o'clock on a Saturday evening with plans that I was going to go out, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't happen. And you know what? I was like super okay with everything. And so I guess like what I wanted to kind of share through this experience was like first of all, how much easier it was a second time when I knew what was going on. And also just like, it's not that big of a deal. And I don't see the value in like getting caught up in it. And I know that every situation is different. Everyone's situation of this like ghosting is different. Sometimes it's like maybe more intense because you've shared more of a connection or whatever. But it happens. And as I was discussing with a friend last night after this all didn't go down, that is the world of 2019 dating, and you can either be a part of it or you can get left behind. And so my takeaway was that although these things happen, like ghosting and whatever, you have to keep going. So I hope that my next online dating experience does not end in a ghost, but it might. So there's my takeaway from yesterday. I hope that you enjoyed this and maybe were able to relate to this. And if you enjoyed it, please like it, share and or subscribe to my podcast. And let me know what you think. Cheers. Ciao.